Question of the day. What is the rule book that your brain has looked at and you just can't, it just won't absorb? Like, no matter how many times you look at it, it's like it's just a totally different language, even if it's something simple. Or conversely, what's the most simple game that took you forever to grasp? Well, the reason I bring that up is because today we're talking about Anansi. This is a storytelling themed game based on the Anansi mythos, which is kind of this, it's West African, transferred to the Caribbean, and it's the origin of things like Brer Rabbit and Brer Bear and all those sorts of stories that we have now through years and years and years of folklore. And how it travels across the world. So how story travels the world is kind of what this is about. Anansi is a trickster. He's usually shaped like a spider and is the keeper of stories, keeper of knowledge sort of deal. So the theme behind this trick-taking game is that you are inspiring people with stories. Now, at its core, it's just a trick-taking game, but with those elements being infused in it from the Anansi mythos, does it live up to something different? Let's take a look right now and see how Anansi plays. And yeah, by the way, that is a fully scaled Thor Ragnarok helmet, and you know what that is if you've seen it. You know if you know. Let's go. So here is Anansi right here. Check out this nice glinting, gleaming foil look to it. Let's take a look at what's inside. So here's the major setup. Here's kind of the cards you're going to play with, but I just want to keep showing you that. Look at that nice glinted gold or foil look to it. These are the cards. These are the actual just trick cards that you're going to use to play with throughout the game. They are different suits. You have, the snake. You've got hornet or wasp, and you also have the leopard, which is pretty cool because they are gorgeous cards. But that's it. Notice, though, on these cards, they also have follower symbols. This follower symbol here is how you gain followers. Now, these followers, essentially, what's going to happen is you're trying to tell them stories and inspire them. When you tell them a story of inspiration, they turn inspired. They go from sad. Look at that. He's so sad. Boom! He is very inspired now. The way this works is you're going to be playing cards based on trick-taking, traditional trick-taking, in the sense that someone will lead, everyone else will follow. If you don't have that suit, you have to play the trump card. If you don't have the trump card, you can play off-suit. Person who wins the suit will collect the story stack, which would be the rest of it. Let me move these. By the way, this is the bonuses you'll get if you manage to have exactly enough inspired followers as the amount of story stacks, which basically means one tricks that you have. You will score points based on the round, first round, second round, third round. So it is a way to get points, but let's scoot these out of the way for just a moment. What happens next is these trump areas here will show you what is the current round's trump card, and that goes based on what the amount of cards that are there. So let's just say that in the setup there is 1, 1, and none. So the highest amount of cards, that means the one furthest to the left if they're tied, would be the trump card. So currently it'll be leopard. This one would be if there was another one here, but there's not. So as soon as there's a second one here, boom, this one now becomes the trump card. So that would be snake, I believe. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Pardon the very long focus there. But as these cards become the new trump card, it changes kind of how things are played. So instead of playing a card, I mean, honestly, this is just basic trick-taking. I would play, let's just say I play this. Well, then everyone has to play hornet. You'll look through your hand, find it, play it. Person with the highest number will take the trick. Anyway, regardless, if you don't want to do that, in a 2 to 3 player game, or excuse me, a 3 to 4 player game, only one person can do this per round. You could say, no, I'm going to use mine to gain followers. You'll play it sideways like this. You'll gain that many follower cards. So let's just say 1, 2. Now they come out uninspired. Let's just say this will then go here after this round, which will further increase the amount of cards in the trump card spots here to where it could change potentially round to round like that, which one's going to be the trump card. You then will take your score stack. So let's just say I have a score stack of 4, score stack of 4 obviously, and a score stack of 4. If at the end of the round I have an inspired follower on each of these, I will gain a point per follower plus the scoring stack bonus that we went over a minute ago for the round. If, for instance, I had 1 fewer, but I have 2 inspired and I have 1 story stack that doesn't have 1, well then they would just count these as 1 point per. You would not get the bonus listed on these. Other option would be this. Let's just say I have 3 followers out here, but not enough story stacks to inspire them with. Well, then I would not get to score any of my followers, which is a pretty bad outcome. So you're trying to min-max that. You'll play this 3 times. At the end of 3 rounds, the person with the most points, both based on these bonuses and the actual individual points per the trickster cards, wins, I mean, for the follower cards, wins the game. So that's Anansi. So first and foremost, I want to talk about how this game looks, because when making a new trick-taking game, there are only so many ways you could go. Now, you could go the route of, let's make it a trick-taking game and hide it inside of this massive, dungeon crawl. Well, no one's really done that yet, and so maybe that's something that will happen. Kind of like when people heard that deck building was going to be involved in more heavier Euros, they at first were like, I don't know if that's going to work, and then they're like, oh, wow, it works really well. Well, I haven't seen the kind of infusion of a trick-taking game into something bigger and grandiose. So there's another couple of routes you go. You go, okay, do we want to just keep the price point really low so we can sell it and just make it look bland and people will buy it like an old school trick-taking game that they would have seen in the mass market? Third option, make it look nice, make it pop, make it shine, make it have a nice glint of light to it. And the reason I bring that up is that's what Anansi did. Yes, it has this cool theme of the Anansi mythos, which is cool to see represented in a game. Granted, you don't see much of it, considering trick-taking games really do struggle a lot at getting theme just pulled out of it, more so painting it in the theme, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just telling you, if you were looking forward to a game that really dives into this mythos and this folklore, this isn't so much that in every turn, other than you're reminded of it by the name. Even though they went with kind of a more modern art, the foil of the cards looks so good. It just pops. Like, the art style is really, really, really good. I love it. I love that when you go from inspired, it's just kind of bland blah to just boom, full color. And not just like normal colorized. It's like almost neon looking the card. So it looks very, very good. So I really like the direction they went with, okay, let's make this look good. Now, as far as gameplay, it is a trick-taking game. It's traditional. You play a card. Everyone has to follow that suit, as you saw. If you have the trump card, you play that, you win the suit. The tricky thing is, though, you're trying to gain followers, and you're trying to inspire those followers onto the scorecards that you have, because if you can maximize the amount of followers you have inspired with the amount of scoring stacks you have, you're going to score more points. If, for instance, you have more followers than scoring stacks, well, then you don't get to score them. If you have fewer followers than scoring stacks, well, then you're just going to score the ones you have, but you don't get that trickster bonus. If you can match up and have that perfect number, then you get the trickster bonus. I think that's pretty cool, because it takes it away from, well, I got to win every trick. Yeah, you do need to win some tricks, obviously, to kind of counterbalance it, but you don't. That's not the massive main goal, because as the person who leads, you don't get to do certain things. I believe that you don't get to gain followers. So it really makes it tricky what you have to choose to do for your turn. So I'm actually a big fan of this. Like, again, let me give the caveat. I'm not a big trick-take gamer. I've gotten to like them a lot more this year. I don't know if the crew did that, just really caused me to go, oh, okay, these can be different. But I really do like them, because people who grew up playing spades and hearts get the idea, even if they've never heard of this world. You know what I'm saying? This mass market, this hobby gaming world. So I like the fact that games like this exist to go, oh, you want to play a game with us? Well, I don't know about that big howler tile game you're talking about. Well, what about this one? This one's just like hearts we used to play, or it's just like spades how we used to play it. I like that exists, because these games, like it or not, could be considered gateway games or next step games, depending on how you view them. But they're right there. They're just as accessible to people who don't have any background in hobby gaming, but they're also different enough to where they give a nice little hobby gaming boost, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So Anansi looks good. As far as playing, it does a few things different with the whole, like, how you score as a min-max sort of deal. I like that. Now, is it the greatest trick-taking game of all time? I don't know, because I don't play a ton of trick-taking games. I do like it. I think it does enough unique things, and it looks good enough on the table that it's definitely worth taking a look at. Now, I'm going to be looking at Coyote pretty soon, which is a very similar style, similar design. So we're going to see how those kind of compare. Maybe I'll do, instead of just a straight review of it, maybe I'll compare the two of these, since they came out at the same time and have a very unique look to them. So trick-taking game, it's on the rise still. It hasn't waned, and maybe we'll see even more come out of this genre. So I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. Until next time, we'll see ya.